Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural divine heirs. Today is September the 15th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan consular court action. We are the sovereign living justice in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am sovereign living justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. Both are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original, indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District 4, Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are executing the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District 4, Columbia Liquidation Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, receivers, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, claimants, and beneficiaries in this cause for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension. We hereby issue a state and federal creditors' bill for possession against all judgment debtors and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, non pro tunc. So Sunday, we started our call with clearing energy and binding and casting out the spirit of lack. And when we did that, it definitely had a positive effect on our call because abundance began to present itself in the answers that we were receiving in our call. So this time, we want to start the call and focus our energy on abundance, on prosperity, and knowing that we already have all that we need. We just have to manifest it. The result of the abundance appeared by way of answers and information regarding our demonstrations, and to us that was monumental. So for this congressional assembly, we want to start the assembly with focusing our sovereign, powerful, eternal, all-knowing, ancient energy together as one on acceptance and immediate possession of the prosperity that is our sovereign estate. Okay, so we want to take about 30 seconds to just focus on the abundance of our vast estate. We want to focus on further access to our vast estate, which we know that we have access to the vast estate, and now we're wanting to continue in that movement and that energy and that frequency. So let's take about 30 minutes, and I'm going to set my timer so that we, 30 seconds rather. I didn't mean 30 minutes. 30 seconds to come together and just focus our energy together. And just With this demonstration, if you would, focus on the manifestations that you want, the lifestyle that you want, the things that you want to manifest. See yourself already with those things. See yourself demonstrating those things already. And let's all do that together for about 30 seconds, starting now. Islam. So, with that being said, in our sleep, we felt as if we were essentially starving in the land of abundance, because this land is the land of abundance. Now is the exact opposite of that. Therefore, we know and we feel the abundance all around us, within us, and the abundance is actually manifesting itself through us. And that is what applying these daily demonstrations that we do, that's what those demonstrations are grasping and manifesting. So with that being said, I want to point out just a few things, and then we'll discuss what we were talking about on our last call with regard to the grocery demonstration. And there's been some new developments there as well. So I want to share that information with you. Thank you to Empress Jatali for what she put forth. Earlier this week, she sent some videos, and we linked those videos under the Congressional Assembly from last week, or from Sunday rather, this past Sunday, September the 11th. So with that being said, speaking on prosperity, and why are we talking about prosperity? This is not a gospel of prosperity like what we saw in the previous era. This is a new era. The era belongs to the Moors. And it is our responsibility now to go ahead and continue, because we're already doing it, but continue to access and possess all that is rightfully ours. We have to do that in an organized manner, like what we're doing. We've already put in place the foundational things, and then also there are Moors who came before us that were putting foundational things in place too. And I could go through that list, but I may miss someone, and I don't want to miss anyone. So I'll just say all Moors who've been demonstrating before put some things in place, and we're putting things in place also. So Empress Rose sent an 1848 Wharton's Law Lexicon, Empress Rose at Khalifa territory, sent a Wharton's Law Lexicon of Commercial Jurisprudence Dictionary. And so we wanted to look at the word money, because there seems to be some, in our nation, some people say money is only these round things that are gold. That's the only real money is the gold coin, according to the Constitution. And for those who say that, then that's true for you, okay? Because you're sovereign and you get to choose what money is for you. We know that we are the money. We're the bank. We always have been. That's why our consent was needed for everything that happened, and continues to be needed for the things that we are manifesting. So when we look at this term money, moneta from monendo, because by the impression upon it, we are warned whose it is. In other words, whoever is on the money, that's whose money it is. Okay? So it says the wheel of circulation, and again, this definition was written by the subjects, so we also always tailor it to what we need it to say, or what we want it to say, or what we feel it should say. The wheel of circulation, the great instrument of commerce, the coining of which belongs in all states to the sovereign power. And coining means to create. It means coining, essentially, in the dictionary, when you look up the word coining, it will say to make something up. So coining, in all states, it doesn't matter what state it is, it belongs to the sovereign power, period. And we know we're the sovereign power. It says the right of coining money is comprehended amongst those rights of royalty which never depart from the kingly scepter. And we know where kings come from. We're the kings. And we birth the kings. And anyone claiming to be a king over the Moors is a fraud, because there's no kings over the Moors, none. And even those, we've recently watched some things being acted out, and even those, they don't say, that one will never say that they're the king over the Moors. And they dress like a butler. If you watch them, when they're doing things, they walk around in a black suit like the butler. So it says the materials of which it is made are gold, silver, copper, and paper. And again, this is from 1848, so this was before the 1871 Act to change everything into a corporation, supposedly. It says its currency and the intrinsic or denominated value put upon it are exercised as prerogatives of the crown, and we know we're the crown. It may be said that the substitution of paper for gold or silver replaces a very expensive medium of commerce for one with much less costly and sometimes more convenient, the expediency and operation of which substitution belongs to the political economy of the state. In other words, we have the right and the authority to use paper instead of gold bars and gold coins and things like that, just by virtue of our sovereign status. And it says, and again, the word state is mentioned here. It says, which substitution belongs to the political economy of the state. And we know that we're the state. It says, and the sixth section of the third and fourth, and they're quoting a manual here, some articles from something written by William IV, I believe it is. It declares that bank notes shall be a legal tender for all sums, except at the Bank of England and its branch banks. Okay, and it says make silver a legal tender. Copper money not exceeding 5 pence 3 farthings may be tendered. The word sterling, so often found in deeds as applied to money, seems to be derived from Easterlings. And this is how you know this is written by subjects, because they're using the word it seems to be. A company of merchants who shortly after the Norman Conquest were employed in regulating the coinage, and means English coined money. So whenever you say sterling, you're talking about English coined money. And then it says the following definition of documents includes ancient money, because our liens, anything that we write that has a gold clause in it is money. Okay, and we know that when we autograph it, it's money. It automatically becomes money. It's money while we're creating it, but when we autograph it, because our autograph, everything we touch turns to gold. It says, in general, ancient documents, deeds, wills, and other writings more than 30 years old are so-called money. They are presumed to be genuine without express proof when coming from the proper custody. And this part of the word money, the definition of money comes from Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. So ancient documents are money, period. And they are genuine without express proof when coming from the ancients, which is us. So we don't have to prove to anybody that our documents are genuine and that they're real money, because they're coming from us. Okay? And then it says here, foreign document, one which was prepared or executed in or which comes from a foreign state or country. And again, when we say foreign, we're talking about Moors from other places. We're not talking about anyone that's not Moors. We're talking about Moors right now. So, because if you're not original and indigenous to the earth, then you shouldn't be coining money. Your money should be coming from the heirs. So, and that truth is actually what we are manifesting right now, because we see that when anyone who is not us by bloodline and birthright prints anything and calls it money, it's not really money, it's debt. So we have to actually print and proof and send. Okay. Coins, tokens, banknotes, yes. In the chat, Empress Rosetta L put something in there about the old currency exchange is a specialist dealer and valuer of Irish and goldback and GB coins, tokens, and banknotes. So I don't know what GB is. I'm assuming it's goldback. And again, we are the original Irish. We're the original Irish. We're the original Europeans. We're the original Romans. We're the original Israel. We're the original Moabites, Canaanites. We're the original Americans. There are no originals besides us. Okay? And, again, we're not angry with anyone or anything, but our focus is the Moors, because we need to make sure that the Moors are taken care of, and not taken care of because we take care of ourselves, but we need to know who we are, because the rest of the earth prospers through us. So we must prosper first, which is why our focus is us. And everyone is aware of that already. We have accepted our ascension, and we've accepted who we really are. And we know that no one gets to do anything until we do it. Okay? And we're not shy about that. We're not shy about the fact that we must be first in all that there is. All the prosperity, all of the abundance, all the manifestations, we must be first. And that's also in the legal code book known as the Biblios Helios or Biblios Heliotech. So with that being said, and defining money and having money be, to look like, and Moors, don't chop me up too bad for what I did here. But I know that the original faces that were on the money was always us. It is the proper natural order for us to be first and for us to be on our own money. And when we look back into the real records, we see that everyone who was speaking and all of that, they looked like us. So what we did was we went ahead and, did a few things in terms of the fiduciary money. And don't chop me up too bad, Morris, but we did go ahead and make some changes to the fiduciary money. Okay. And this right here, this brown face here, we saw this brown face on a gate of the place where he visited in England, quote unquote. And it was brown. Benjamin Franklin looked, he was one of us. Okay. Someone asked, what's wrong with the money we already have? What money are you referring to? Because there's only one money, and that's the money that we put forth. And so the money that you already have is whatever you say it is. We are going to do things in a manner that is according to who we are. Now, with the fiduciary, with the delarium, and again, for those who have not been here, delarium, or in case you missed this piece of information, delarium is our national currency. That is what we use, substance for substance. So for things that are natural sea salt that we harvest, natural crops that we put together, things that we do, that is what delarium is for. That's why we created delarium. It's our national currency. Fiduciary money is for the liquidation of the products that were not done by our government, as it were. And I'm putting that in quotes because everything came from our estate that they did do. Okay, that the subjects did. So fiduciary money is for those goods and things that were not done in our Moorish factories, in our Moorish workshops, and our Moorish plants and things. Okay. So there has to be a transition. There has to be a transition. And that's what we're doing now is making sure that the transition is safe for all Moors, making sure that the transition is, it has the Moors in the forefront of that transition, and that when the subjects are looking at this transition and looking at the things that we're doing, that they know what to do. Okay, is follow our commands, as we put them forth by way of our sovereign affidavits. And so this money is how is what done, Justice Henry? I'm going to go ahead and open the table for comments, questions, etc. That way we can all discuss what's being placed on the table. So you can unmute yourselves as you so choose. If you have questions or comments about what we've put forth thus far. Now, the Islam Empress.
Shasha Ave?
Islam.
Territory. A couple of days ago, I was reading something, and the term "mark of the beast" came up. And it's one of those things that what is the mark? Is it the joke? Is it that? Mm-hmm. And I decided to research mark, the word. And the word, I looked up, I went to etymology. Mm-hmm. And the mark was originally, it's a weight, and a weight of money.
Yes.
And it was like I had this, it was an epiphany. You know what I'm saying? It was like, in fact, my first thought was, I need to call. I need to call Empress Pauline. Because it was just like, but wait a minute, it made so much sense to me because it's the fiat. You know, it spoke to me as the fiat and the mark of the beast being money, but it's the marked money, which isn't the, you know, it's not our money, but it's just so interesting that here this evening we are talking about the money, and so that's all. I just wanted to sort of add that into the story. So
yes, you know, Empress, we had already taken the mark of the beast, and we're out of that. You know,
yes,
that was already, you know, with Social Security numbers issued by the dead.
That's the mark.
And that's a mark because you couldn't work, buy, or sell without it, because buying and selling had to do with banking and things like that. You had to have that to even get a bank account.
And I mean, I haven't even brought it to there, but that's it, because in the end, you have to have those in order to earn the purported money, and you can't start, you can't move, and then in the end, that is shackling you, and it's not even real.
It's not even real.
It's not even real. I was having this conversation with myself about work, and you know how you you know, you have to go to school, you have to get the right degree, you have to get the right class, you have to get the right experience, and then you go and you are now ready to get that job, and somebody tells you you must stand like this, wear this, look like this, do this, and then you get the job and you're told you can pee only at this time and you must do, and it just came to me, and it was like, how can we have really taken all of this in, and it's all to get the mark, of course, or to get the fiat, and we've functioned in that frequency for our lifetimes and never, well, I can only speak for myself, of course, but you know, it was just like this slap on, like, it's so clear that it's so fictional and it's so against nature and natural and sovereignty and man, which includes woman, because she's the first, you know. But anyway,
we are womb man. We are womb
man. Exactly. Even down to the idea, you know, that fight between man and woman. You say man, and now, I mean, I've been in the war there, or, you know, I've done the vagina monologues and, you know, been for the whole woman thing. But and now when I say man, and immediately I will get that argument, you know, where's the woman? And then I explain that man is the species that came from, and includes us all, and the womb man has to be there before the man can come anyway. So everybody. But anyway, that's just I've digressed now a little, but it's with the mark and money and Tiffany, and so I shall yield now.
Those who were issuing Social Security numbers, who were not us, even by way of chromosome count, are considered beast.
I saw that somewhere. I don't know if it was one of yours, but I saw 46 or something chromosomes, and I mean, I love biology, but it was like, hang on a second,
scientifically,
I don't recall that one. So, but yes,
they
are the beast.
Yes, they are the beast, and we have dominion over all of that.
Wow.
And the thing is, they already know who they are.
That's it. You know,
so this is not something offensive to them. They know already. That's how come the only ones you hear complaining when we say that about them is more of us who've been programmed.
One of the, I would offer an explanation for that, because so many of us want to be them. I mean, you know, in the programming, do you get what I'm saying? And I don't mean it, but in the programming, when we are bleaching off our skin and we're doing the things with our hair, and we're doing, and, you know, even down to your language that you speak, your vernacular, you don't want that anymore because you want the language which was, I mean, it's just, so it makes sense. It makes sense. I've always said they know they know who we are, because if they know who they are, they know who they're not, and they know who we are as well.
Absolutely, always have. We were the only ones who did not know, and we couldn't remember who we were,
And
due to a head wound.
And I'm going to share another, then I shall get off. I had gone to what we call the barnyards, and I don't know if anyone on there, but a barnyard is a healing place run by usually a mother. But
It's a BALM yard.
BALM, as in barn, right?
Yes.
And anyway, I've just lost my place. I've just lost my. There was a reason why I was going to say I went to the barnyard. You know what? I shall have to yield because it's totally jumped out of my head. I shall come.
Well, when
back
you think of it, yeah. Just
all right, I yield.
Thank you, Empress.
Come back.
Yes.
All right, I yield.
We, this is our time. This time belongs to us. And that is why this information is so important. It's so key. And again, the only ones that complained, and it hasn't been all, not even a lot of Moors complain about that because they know too. It's just a few who complain when we say that we have dominion over the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air, even though it's in the legal code book that we do. And that where chromosome count and bloodline and birthright are concerned, we are who we are and they are who they are. That's not a war statement. They are a part of the estate as well. Just like any other being on the land. We don't go out into the woods and tell lions and tigers, hey, everybody line up. This is your 10 commandments. You got to do this. We don't have to do that. We already told them what to do. We told them what to do when we created them. And the same thing goes for the subjects. We told them what to do. At creation, they're programmed to know what to do. And when we speak and make a certain sound, the sound of God, the sound of the Lord, when we do that, they know what to do already. I'm a living witness and a living manifestation of that. They know, because when I did court actions, they all stopped what they were doing and went away, like we were saying in the court action to do. And I saw that repeatedly. That happened multiple times. So I know that they've been programmed properly. Okay. And we're the original United States for America. We're the original. And again, that's fiduciary money. And the United States of America, the corporation, was the one that went belly up. They were belly up from day one. And so in liquidating, we're letting everyone know what's being liquidated. That's why, and there's a question in the chat. Empress Angel says that someone asked her, why is the United States of America still on the bills? That is fiduciary money. That's who's being that corporation is what's being liquidated. The corporation is what's being liquidated, and we cannot use debt to do that. We have to use credit to do that. Credit comes from our creation. We create credit all day, every day. When we create our heirs, that's credit. Our heirs are part of the estate and just the golden egg, essentially. So, there was a hypothecated United States of America, and then there is then there's the original United States for America. And then on our affidavits that we send or use, to state that we're going to be using fiduciary money, it says United States for America. So that's why our affidavits are always, they precede our demonstrations. So you send the affidavits first, then you demonstrate. Okay. Yes, we are just plain wealthy, period. So now I wanted to, along those same lines, discuss that same thing with regard to the ancient records, because this is a national status report that I'm providing to you. According to the ancient records, which are the Holy Sibyl, and we know if you can just Google the ancient Sibyls, and all kinds of things will come up, because I've heard even the foreign the subjects talk about the Sibyls and their writings and their prophecies, because the original prophets were us, the Sibyls. And so according to the ancient records, and now this, I'm giving you a national status report right now, because the foreigners keep stating that they are going into a depression, and we need to know what the real statement is there. And when I say statement, what does that mean for our state? When they say they're going into a recession, first they say recession, and then they say it becomes a depression. Well, when they say recession, to recede means to step back, move back. So a recession for them is a recessive, everyone with a recessive gene, step back. Everyone with a recessive gene or genome or genometrics, step back, recede. You know, when they talk about waters receding, etc. So I said I'm going to look up the word depression. And this is the scripture that came to mind, Luke 6:38, which is what the foreigners were using this scripture to elicit fiat out of the church members, quote unquote. And again, we're not mad at Christians. We love Christians. We created Christians. We created Christianity. But we're going to bring this forth for the foreign fake commercial Christians, not the real Christians. So if you're a real Christian, don't be offended by this. If you're a fake Christian, be offended, if you so choose. So Luke 6:38, at offering time, they would say, give, and it shall be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap, or will men give into your bosom. For with the measure you use it, it will be measured back to you. And they didn't give this version of it, but they would say, with the measure that ye meet withal, it shall be measured back to you. They didn't tell people that they had to use it wisely. And that however you use it, that's how it's going to be given back to you. If you use fiat and fraudulent stuff, you're going to get fraud and war back, because that's confusion. Because your faith is not on that. Your faith is not on that. And so, give and it will be given to you. Well, Morris, we're giving right now. We're giving right now by even coming together. We're giving of our energy and our time to our nation, so it's going to be given back to us. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give unto our bosom. This is a national status report. I'm telling you what's happening with our nation right now. Good measure, pressed down. That means that someone's got to go into depression in order for this to take place. For good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Because if you think about those terms, it seems like somebody is getting beat up pretty bad when you say pressed down, shaken together, and ran over. You know, and to me, I kind of chuckled a little bit as the ancestors were unfolding this to me, about you know, what's really happening. Because in our sleep, the foreign occupiers, the previous occupiers, because they're not occupied now, we got this. The foreign previous occupiers were, to them, everything was at peace and there was no war. It was peaceful to them. And we thought it was peaceful to us too, but they were really warring against us the whole time. So now we said, okay, peace on earth. Well, now wars and rumors of wars on their part, not ours. We're at peace. And so when you say good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, somebody is getting pressed down, shaken together, and ran over. Something or someone, and it's not us. But those are the conditions that have to be put in place in order for men to give into our bosom. And that is a grocery demonstration, for example. The fake fraudulent fiat economy is depressed. Make no mistake about it, it is. It is already depressed. Okay? And so the foreigners keep stating that they are going into a depression, and yes, that is what depression looks like. But for us, Moors, for us, it is now the most abundant time that we have ever been in. The most abundant time. The most abundant time. And so we might as well go ahead and smile and and continue to demonstrate, because the abundance is backed up, it's clogged up because there's so much that's waiting. Okay, and many of you may have heard that in the when the subjects talk about all of these things around us, where supply chains are backed up and it's stuff just backed up and it's waiting to get into the economy. Well, that's for us. And so there's no depression for us. It is actually the most abundant time we have ever seen, ever. It is the great transfer for wealth. It is all of that. And it's not really a transfer, because it's been ours. It always was ours and always will be. So then I said, well, let me look up the word depression, because they keep using that term. And in my study, and as I'm looking at things and things are popping up, they're talking about recession, depression, etc. So I said, okay, depressed. Here it is. To press down. Good measure. Pressed down. Shaken together and running over. And let me say this too, Moors, that there's going to be, they see it coming, what we're doing. They see it coming. They say, okay, the Moors are on the right track. They're doing all the right things. Let's go ahead and at some point we're going to have to say we're in a recession, and then we're going to have to say we're in a depression. But they have to know that's the opposite of what they're doing. We are in emergence. That means emerging. And that's what a national emergency, quote unquote, really is are the nationals emerging from their sleep? We are already out. We're awake. We're already awake. That's what because they were talking about national emergency. Ta-da! Here you are. Here we are. And it says to press down, to push or pull down. And this term pull down, when I think about what we have already done and the scripture in the Biblioheliotext that talks about the pulling down of strongholds. We've already done it. It's a wrap already. It's done. And now we have to just, all we're doing now is demonstrating what we've already done. To the pulling down of strongholds. We did that. That scripture used to intimidate me in my sleep, because I used to think, well, that means we got to reach up somewhere and pull something down. Well, what's up there? Well, what was it that was pretending to cover us? Fraudulent citizenship. It's called the Buck Act. BUCK, the Buck Act. Look into the Buck Act and you will see that there was an overlay that we had to pull down that stronghold. Just let me, in fact, I want to pull that lexicon up, that scriptura up. Because it really does speak. It's 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, verses 4 and 5. Wow. It says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God. Who is God? Us. It's through us, the mighty Moors, that the pulling down of strongholds happens. So all this is the subjects writing about the Moors. Casting down imaginations. Because, see, in our sleep we were in an illusion. It says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Moors, the gods, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Moorish Christ. Captivity and capitalism are the same thing. Captivity, whoever it is that is claiming to own the all caps, that's captivity. That means they have somebody. If you think that that's you, then they got you in captivity.
Islam.
If you think that that's you, Islam.
That goes back to the casting down of imaginations. That would go back to your teaching of schizophrenia and how they're schizophrenic.
Yes. Yes. Because now that everything is back in its rightful place, there is, there's still some that are still thinking that they still trying to put forth the narrative, and it sounds absolutely crazy when they call themselves a nation or a state. It sounds crazy coming out of their mouths because it's like everyone knows that that's just not true. Okay. So pulling down of strongholds. In fact, let me make sure that we put that scriptura on the screen really quickly. There it is, right there on the screen. Again, and then look up the word carnal and see what it really means. We didn't have to pick up a gun to do what we're doing. But they wanted you to think you had to pick up a gun so they could throw everybody in jail. You don't have to pick up a gun. If your pen is strong, you don't need a gun. And then you get a gun when you're ready to get a gun because your pen has spoken first, and then recreationally or for whatever needs to be done, whatever you decide to do in terms of U.S. Marshals, United States, sovereign United States Marshals, the living United States, that is, then can have, the weapon on their hip. And the sovereign peace officers and sheriffs, the sovereign Moorish sheriffs and sovereign peace officers can have the weapons on your hip, because it didn't take weapons on your hip to get you to that point. Because see, you didn't. Islam Empress. I put that article in because it was mentioned in the definition. I wasn't trying to usurp what you were saying.
About what?
William, about the coins.
Mm-hmm.
William the Fourth. That's why I put the article in.
Yeah, I didn't. I hope I didn't come across as if you were trying to do that. That's not what I meant. If I came across that way, I apologize, because that wasn't my intention. To come across as if you were,
Yeah.
because we're all one here. We're all on the same page. We already know that that we need to come together and really just say what's really on our mind.
Right.
And we cannot bring offense easily to that. We can't. I don't bring feelings of offense to that.
I wasn't offended.
Islam. Thank you.
Clear the air. Yeah.
Islam. Thank you. So, with regard to the weapons and the casting down imaginations, that tells us even to say to cast down imagination. Imagination, the root word of that is image or magi. Image or magi. So casting down images and fake magic and anything that says that it's above you, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Christ. And that's what we're doing. Fiduciary, those are actually financial terms right there. Those are financial terms as well as spiritual terms and three-dimensional terms. All of that had to be done in the spirit realm and manifesting in this realm at law. Anytime you see the word captivity in the Biblios Heliotext, it's talking about capitalism. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about accepting the person of someone else. If you didn't write it, they ain't talking about you. Unless you agree that they are. And we don't agree that anyone is talking about us unless we wrote it. And then, when Moors write things and they're talking about us, then we say, okay. If Moors put things up that we've written, we're good with that. Because the state can do that. They can put things up. We honor that. So it says here in terms of the word depress, to render dull or languid, to weaken, to decrease the force or activity of. Is that not what having our own money does to fiat? It does. And they keep talking about a weak dollar, a strong dollar, a weak dollar, a strong dollar. They're not talking about us, first of all. They're not talking to us. All they're doing now is speaking into the wind to corpses and distracting. And what our subjects are doing is keeping it's clearing the way. Let me put it that way for the subjects. They're clearing the way. And then corpses don't even speak. They're mute. So everything that you see is being done by subjects of the Moors, including the one who dresses like a butler, that they're saying is, their king. Okay, that's for them. That doesn't have anything to do with us. He is in service to us. Period. And that's why most of the time you don't see a crown up there, because we're the crown. And they know this already. Clear. It says here to depress commerce, right here at number 2, as to depress commerce. That's what they're talking about. As our commerce rises, theirs is depressed. As ours was depressed, theirs was rising previously, acting out that it was rising. It says to deject, to make sad or gloomy, to discourage, to depress the spirits. And when our commerce was depressed, our spirits were not as high as they are now. To humble, to abase, as to depress pride, to lower in value, price, or amount. In algebra, to reduce to a lower degree. Algebra is a Masonic word. So when you talk about degrees, that's what you're talking about. To reduce to a lower degree. And then in music, to lower the pitch of, that speaks to frequency. To suppress. Depress and suppress, same thing. Okay. Islam. Al, noble title. Yes, indeed. Indeed. To depress the pole in nautical usage. Now, this is important. Nautical usage is important because of the Admiralty and maritime law. It says to cause the pole to appear lower or nearer the horizon, as by sailing toward the equator or the equalizer, the one that's equal right in the middle. The appearance looks different the more you go in that direction. The appearance. So casting down imaginations, it's all been an illusion. It's all been an illusion. Okay? Dispirit, to humble, to degrade, to cast down, to deject. To sink, that's a nautical term. That's a maritime and admiralty term. To sink, where it says here the synonym of depress is to sink. Okay? And then the word depressed. Pressed down, lowered in position, intensity, amount, or degree. And then when it says running over, number 3, flattened or hollowed, as if pressed down. Now, hollowed is a straw is hollow. So let's talk about a straw man being depressed. And that's why we don't use them. They're hollow. They call them shell corporations. So we don't accept someone else's person, we create our own. Okay? Pressed down, shaken together, running over. In botany, flattened vertically as if from downward pressure. And then depression. This word depression is a noun. A pressing down. Low spirits, dejection, sadness, a decrease in force, activity, amount. Now, when you talk about low spirits and the spirit realm, don't we have a higher self and a lower self? And then not only a higher self and a lower self, but then there is a shadow of the lower self. That's a spirit that's been running around pretending to be our lower self. Islam, I'm glad that you all can hear now. If you sometimes it depends on your Wi-Fi or where you have to go out and come back in. So thank you for the 2 that had to go out and come back in, because we want you to be able to hear and to speak Islam. In astronomy, the angular distance of a heavenly body below the horizon. Angles. That's an important word. In economics, it's a period marked by slackening of business activity, much unemployment, falling prices and wages. And the prices going up is why they keep saying recession. But then in just a moment, Moors, and this is what we're preparing for. We're going to be using fiduciary money And the prices are going to be so low, and you're going to be able to have so much that your cup is just going to be running over. That's what we're preparing for, and that's why we're pushing forth with our demonstrations. Because in a very short while, the prices of everything is going to plummet all the way down. And we'll be able to take our fiduciary money in or our documents in and get whatever it is in abundance, more than we could ever ask or think. And then, Moors, when that happens, we're actually going to be getting all of that so that we stand, it's all for government use, so that we can make sure that Moors are taken care of and get our flags flying everywhere, be able to produce and come together and put things together and work together and all of that. That's what we're preparing for. And that takes preparation. It takes competent, peaceful, thoughtful, intelligent coming together, putting the feelings aside, okay, unless it's those feelings that we feel when we are coming together in unity, but putting the negative feelings aside, because we've had a whole era of negativity and negative feelings, and that has to be balanced out also. And that's what the spirit work is for. So, it says in economics, they're talking falling prices and wages. That's when a depression comes, okay? So for them, it's going to be that. However, everyone is going to be taken care of, because even the subjects, according to chapter 29 of the Circle 7, Holy Quran, for the Moorish Holy Temple, for science, all of our subjects are well taken care of. Why? Because we are well taken care of, because we're taking care of ourselves and being ourselves on our land. And there's plenty where, there is no lack. So it says in meteorology, a lowering of the atmospheric pressure. So let's just think about the atmosphere. The atmospheric pressure, the fall of Mercury, indicating this in a barometer. The fall of Mercury is actually a planet. Now, I know you're thinking about the element Mercury falling, but Mercury retrograde, okay, is a thing that phenomenon and that experience of Mercury being in retrograde, it determines the state of the powers that be, and I can't say the powers that be because they're not the powers that be. I know that's wrong. That's not what I mean. What I mean is they're going in retrograde. That colonial secret treaty of Verona energy is going all the way back to where it came from. And that is what this is really saying, a lowering of the atmospheric pressure and the fall, that word fall, of Mercury, indicating this in a barometer. So in psychology, an emotional condition, either normal or pathological, well, it's got to be one or the other, right? Normal or pathological, characterized by a feeling of inadequacy, by discouragement, etc. And again, this is all the opposite of what the Moors are now experiencing and going to continue to rise in experiencing. The act of humbling and abasement, as in the depression of pride. Our pride is rising, but it's not the colonial type of pride. And we're also not being abased or humbling ourselves in a manner that is detrimental to our nation. We just came out of that. And then in music, the lowering of a tone by flatting, because you have flat and sharp in music. The lowering of a tone by flatting. flat that tone. That's the running over. See, in the Biblios Heliotext, it was talking about finance in those scriptures that we just showed, because it's a legal code book. So this will be the fall of the colonial, commercial, mercenary, quote unquote, empire. It's done already. Already done. Okay. And so now, are there any questions or comments with regard to depression and what that means? So when and that's why I say, for the most part, you can turn off a lot of what they're saying because it doesn't apply to us. It's the exact opposite for us. Are there any questions or comments about that or anything that we stated thus far? Islam. So they're not talking to us. They're acting out some things. They're not talking to us. Okay? So let's keep that in mind as we move forward in our demonstrations and doing the things that we're doing. So I don't know why I keep hitting that. All right. So now we've been what has been done, and again, this is still the state of our nation that we're saying. This is a national report of where we are and where we're going. Nationally, we are the opposite of all of that other. We're the opposite of that. This is going to be the most prosperous time we've ever seen, and we have to actually exercise we are going to exercise moderation, all things in moderation, and fasting helps us to do that. So that's why we do our monthly fast, so that we can exercise in moderation. And we're starting to get a little sense of what that looks like and what abundance looks like. Our ancestors are showing us what that looks like and how we actually are going to, our tastes are going to be sharpened back to the great things that we know. If you're in lack previously, when we were in lack, we were not that picky about things. We just took what came. But now our tastes are going to be refined back to their origin so that we know what the finer things look like. The fine clothes, linens, and why are we talking about that? It's not because we're materialistic. It's because we have to produce the finer things. So we're going to have to know what they look like. And know a fake when we see a fake, and know the real when we see the real. This is all that we're preparing for right now. Okay? So, in the past, Islam, nobility.
Islam. This is Noble Timothy Hassan in Virginia Territory. I would like for you to maybe elaborate or clear the difference between a police officer and a policeman. Because I grew up in the community hearing policemen all the way up to maybe I was 8 or 9 years old. Then all of a sudden, I started hearing police officers, sheriff officers, and I noticed the response is differently too. For example, if you see around the country, right, that police officer, when they're called on a issue where it deals with a lot of violence or anything that aggression to them, and they choose to use force, right? I've noticed police officers do not do what I grew up in, what policemen used to do. They used to fire one warning shot in the air, okay? Before they point it at anyone, they give you a warning shot. If you notice, around the country, you don't get that through police officers. So could you help elaborate more on that? Because I think that needs to be pointed out and made clear, because it is a difference.
So
Just
they are
based
not
on
police. They're not
their
police
action.
officers. They're not policemen. They're none of that. They're none of that. So we don't give them a title at all except subject.
Okay. So that's all of that is just basically the same thing.
They were
correct?
acting. They were acting. Yeah.
They're just custodians. They just custodians regardless.
Former custodians.
Okay, former then.
Because see, they're not in custody of anything that has to do with the Moors.
Right. Exactly.
They're not.
I just thought that had a difference, because it is based on their reactions. Because I did grow up hearing and seeing that. And I don't see it anymore. They just go right in,
Well, because of the paperwork that was preceded previously.
Okay.
Paperwork that preceded that if people consent to that, then they will do that. But we've proven by our own demonstrations that no one can do anything unless we say so.
Absolutely, sis.
No,
I mean, it is very clear that the law is out there.
I'll just say do the study on the word officer and on the word enforcer, and then the word police. Police means government. When you look that word up in the dictionary, police means government, and we know they're not that.
Okay.
And so the sooner the Moors put that on the public record for each Moor put it on the public record for themselves, then the sooner they will stop acting like that. We're living proof of that. That when we know our place, they will get in theirs.
Okay. So you're saying that when you say police officer, you're saying governing corporate?
I'm saying the Moors.
Right.
I'm a police officer sitting right here, right now. And so are you.
All right.
That's the real police. That's the real government.
Absolutely.
There is no other. On our land, there is no other.
So it's all just a pretense. Just a pretense.
It was an illusion.
Right?
It was an illusion.
Okay.
And now don't get listen. We've been detained by our own sovereign will. So we're not under any we're not imagining things, but that's what showed us that was fake. That's how we know that was just some phony mess that needed to be put in its place by our court.
Okay.
So
absolutely.
Now, speaking of that, nobility and Moors, what they were doing when they were acting like that was discharging duties. They were discharging duties. They were acting out the discharging of duties. Okay? So what does that mean? Let's take a look at discharging duties, because again, we're talking about the vast estate and the state of our nation and the state of our state and what we're doing right now by printing fiduciary money, by printing delarium, by doing demonstrations. When they say faithfully discharging their duties, because if you'll notice, they all took an oath that said they were going to discharge, their faithfully discharge their duties and uphold the Constitution. What were they saying? Well, we know that some people have been, saying, well, what about the House Resolution 192 where all debt is supposed to be discharged? We got to know what's being said there. So we had to actually pull that word apart and look at it that way so that we can see what's going on, because we knew they were doing double entry bookkeeping, where a debt would be created and then they would create another one. The debt would be created and it would be paid. So when people signed for quote unquote mortgage, soon as they signed, the thing was paid. But then someone would create a double entry and create another debt and say, okay, now you got to pay every month because you've accepted our corpse, instead of being yourself when you autographed. So then 2 debts were done instead of 1 that was paid already. So Islam nobility.
When you were saying that, I wanted to make a point before I lose that regarding, and it brought my conscience to the fact about the magistrate guide, where they decide who's who, turning us nationals into U.S. citizens.
They can't do that. It's impossible.
I know they can't do that, but they attempt to do that. Okay.
Let me tell
when
you the only
they
time
are
they
making
do
the
that.
charges.
Let me tell you
Okay,
the only
go
time
ahead.
they do that. The only time they do that is when we do what you just did, which is give them a title of magistrate. You can't give them any titles. It's against the law to give them a title. It's against the law.
That is true.
So I was mentioning the guide then, right? Yes. I wasn't really speaking on them. I was speaking about the guide,
Islam.
The magistrate guide.
Thank you for that
from the Vienna Convention. Yes, sis. I know what you're saying because I was conscious to that. That's why I said it specifically regarding they are making the decision, which I consider that is the color of law, all right? Because they can't change it, They can't change the fact that we are nationals anyway, regardless. However we do business, you can't convert it and make it a U.S. citizen and then charge us penalties on that. That's what I was saying. And that's the color of law. This is what I was speaking.
Because they're putting that on a colored person. And what's a colored person?
Right.
That's their all caps that they created. That's a colored person.
Right. So they're forcing, again, they're pulling
on their
national into their jurisdiction. And you can't, it's impossible to do that, but we allow that, right? Because most of us are not aware of it.
Well,
so the code would tell us.
Wait a minute. I want you to cast the proper spells when you speak, nobility. I want you to cast the proper spells when you speak. Most of us don't accept that. In fact, none of us accept it. None of us accept it.
Okay.
So that's why they can't do it, because we don't consent to that. But we also know that whenever they speak, they're talking to their dead corpse that they created. They're not even talking to us. But if we accept that they're talking to us, that's when the war happens. And we don't accept that. So because we're at peace.
Right.
I get what you're saying, nobility, but I can't let you cast those spells and say this is what we're doing, because that's not what we're doing.
Right.
It's not.
Something I would like to say quickly.
We're not. That's not what we're doing. Just a moment. That's not what we're doing, and so we actually have to change our language and what we say about ourselves. If we don't change it, and I can't even say if we don't change it because it's already changed. We already changed it. We already changed it. So when you speak nobility,
it's a melanin.
It's
a melanin. Okay. Yes.
In the past.
It's a melanin. It's really with me anyway. You know. It's not that I'm not conscious, I guess, in speaking it, right?
Right. You're
things that I'm not conscious of until, again, I go over it or, you know, you're recalling me. You know,
so
that's fine.
You're competent, but sometimes the programming still kicks in what we say, so we have to fix it because we're wizards, we're spellcasters, spell breakers, spellbinders.
I mean, I'm a Taurus, the bull, but I need to get it off. You know, that bull.
You know? No, that's good. That's good.
I need to get that
need to be a
bull
bull about the language.
Yeah.
Be that for sure about making sure that you know you don't take no shorts on what you say, what comes out of your mouth, because you're God. You're creating even while you're speaking. You are actually creating while you're speaking because you're God. And so that's why when I hear more say things, I used to just let it go. On this call, I don't let it go, because this call we're creating even while we're speaking, and we have to get used to knowing that, or else if you know we have to get used to knowing that. You know,
absolutely.
And if no one says anything, then we won't know. So
that has been for centuries. It was centuries that way. It was centuries that way. You know,
and now it's changed.
And the internet sort of opened that up. You know, opened a crack in the window to that. You know, availability. You know, without have to go through this organization or that or a particular one. You know.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
I appreciate that, and I yield back to the Sovereign Congress.
Islam, nobility.
Let's go back to that word officer. Basically, they was calling them that because of the fact that that particular person, he or she, was making an offer. That's why they was calling them an offer, because that's what they were doing, making you an offer. Now,
Islam.
Yes. Now,
I'm agreeing.
Okay. Now, say for instance, using officer again, that same policyholder is not an elected official. The president, that so-called office of president of the United States Corporation, that's an elected official. That's an officer. All elected officials are officers. The sheriff, that's an elected official. Actually, so anything below that is just a hired hand. Islam.
And if a bandit walks up to you with a uniform on and he offers you, if he says, you know, if you say another word, I'm going to lock you up. And you say, well, where do you even get your authority? He'll say, oh, that's another word, I'm locking you up. Why? Because you didn't do a court action to let him know that you're the real officer. So the bandits, just by tacit and implicit actions, okay, they begin to discharge duties. What's discharging? They're starting to charge. If you don't let them know who you are. And it's not even a matter of if you don't let them know, because they can't even do it when you know who you are. They won't even come up to you with that mess, because you put everything on the public record the right way. And the right way just means putting it on the public record by your own sovereign hand on Moorish government letterhead. By your hand. so that debt cannot be created by interacting with subjects. Because that's really what's been going on is subjects thought they were corpses and corporations, and Moors thought they were citizens. That's schizophrenia and mental illness.
Islam.
Islam. There was two. Yes. Go ahead, Nabil.
Whereby the policyholders they call it, as he said, using the word officer, where he's offering you a contract. So the people just got in the habit of saying officer in general, because when they approach you, he's making you an offer. When you sign that so-called ticket, that's a contract. Con means bind. It's a compounded word. Contract is a compounded word. Con means bind or buy. Track means land. So basically, he's trying to get you to contract with him. If you autograph, that's a binding contract. Now, you can easily get rid of that. But according to the statutes, you can operate and just destroying that contract within 72 hours. But people very few people are aware of that. So they end up just paying.
Well, if you
got reserve notes.
If someone comes and offers you something, don't they have to own something to offer you? Don't they have to bring some substance to the table?
He's wrong. Well, he's bringing his uniform, his gun, and his taser, and his billy club. So you're going to submit majority of the time.
Nope. Never.
I'm just saying in the past. I'm saying in the past, that has been the case.
Not even then, really, because I mean, I know when I was in my sleep, I was still driving around without a driver's license because I wasn't going to submit, because they were not going to keep charging me.
Right.
So even then, I didn't even. I came. I'm a Leo, so I came out like that. But, and this is not about me, but I'm just saying many more, that's what helped us wake up, is we were not going to keep being pushed around like that.
Islam.
We don't give them, and on this call, Empress Rima, yes, we are not giving them any recognition for anything except subject status, period. They're not officers. We're not going to call them that. They're none of that. And Morris, I appreciate you speaking in the way that you speak so that you can be aware of not to do that. Because as we continue to demonstrate, we have to tap each other and say, hey, don't call them that. Hey, don't call them that. We have to remind each other because we were programmed. So I'm grateful for those who are speaking the way you normally speak, because it's going to be good to have that red flag raised as to how we speak. Even in our most casual conversations, we cannot give them title, because when we're yes, our lips are the closest thing to our ears, Empress. Yes, we can't give them any titles, even in our most even no matter what type of conversation we're having, we cannot give them a title because it's against the law. And ignorance of the law is not even an excuse. We have to be diligent in continuing to rise, And I may seem a little pushy sometimes. I am a Leo. But I want the best for us so often. So if I come across a little pushy sometimes, I'm apologizing in advance. Just because we got to get this right. We have to get our language right. We have to get our energy right. The spells we cast. We're the most powerful spell casters and spell binders on the earth, in heaven and earth. And so, now that the estate has manifested, we don't want to slip through and be back. We're not going to do that, and we're not worried about that. because we can invoke jurisdiction at any time, and that's it's important that we know that. So, Justice Apollo, I believe you were going to comment. It is, Justice Henry, it is my passion bursting out. And I'm always mindful and hopeful that the Moors know that I don't ever mean to, to come across any way other than loving. But also all about mother's business, for sure. Islam, Justice Apollo.
So I just want to quickly say something about what you said about going back into what we're coming out of, because
we couldn't.
It's
impossible.
Top of,
Can you speak up just a little bit? You're a little bit low. Your volume is a little bit low.
Yes, I was saying that it's definitely. Is this better?
Yes, Islam.
I was just saying that it was kind of already, and you was talking about the Sibyls earlier, but with what was revealed in Revelations and what was even spoken about by the prophet, was that we knew that we would forget who we were, but when it was time for us to wake up and rise back up again, we would never fall again.
Correct. That's true.
I want to quickly kind of go back, touching on what the other two emperors was, when they speak about the, calling the subjects officers. What originally was supposed to happen when we wrote the Constitution was they were supposed to be in subject status, and this connects to the first thing I want to speak about. They were supposed to just be custodians. But I want to clear something up with everybody on this call, because when you say that they're not custodians because they don't have custody over anything that has to do with us, I'm still looking at it as how it's our estate and it involves land and natural resources. And if you're not an heir and you have custody over any land or anything that comes out of the land, you would be a custodian. Now, for our original republic that we ratified in 1791, those offices have certain governmental powers that can be executed on the land, and we have subjects working in those positions. So I just want to kind of clarify if we're going to call them custodians or not, because they do have custody over things that we are heir to and that we have original jurisdiction over.
So it depends on where you are on the timeline. Let me clarify that. You're right about that for you if that's where you see them at. I don't see them as having custody over anything. And that's why I'm like, we have to demonstrate, because they don't have custody. They're just some subjects waiting on us to show up and state who we are.
Okay, Islam.
Yeah. So it depends on where you are on the timeline, and I have to keep that in mind as well. As we're going about this and speaking about it to one another, that different people are at different places on the timeline in their grand rising. However, we're all rising together. So if you still see them some more still see them as lawless colonizers. I don't see them as that, because we already beheaded all of that mess. And again, we behead and decapitate corpses as in not people, but persons. We already removed all of that. So I'm moving forward. Okay, that's not here anymore. Now what do we have? We have subjects who have to rise. All rise and stand. And there are some Moors who still see them as colonial colonizers. There are others who are, and so our language here is to get you to move past seeing them as that and start giving commands and demonstrating. We have to move forward on the timeline. And yes, they're subjects, but Allah does things for herself or himself. Allah does. Arm, leg, arm, head. Allah works through us because we are Allah. And so Do we need people kissing our feet? No. We need them to obey the law. And when they obey the law, our feet won't even need to be kissed. They'll be so comfortable.
Islam, and just one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we used to speak a lot about the concept of education and how that word means, like training for animals. Right?
Animal training.
One thing about training animals is that it's very easy for them to go back and do what they was trying to get them correct. It's very easy, like specifically dogs. It's very easy for dogs to go back to doing the behavior that you was trying to get them out of. You're not very, very adamant with getting them out of it, and if you don't correct them at the right moment, they'll get confused and think that they're being corrected for something else. I'm saying this because we know that our prophet told us to enforce the Constitution, and a part of it for me is still seeing how we just have to make sure that Constitution is being followed. You know what I'm saying? If they're not honoring that, then that's where the correction needs to come. How do you deal with that?
Islam. So, for me, I don't pay much attention to them. I just make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. I'm aligned with the law, and that what I'm doing is honorable and being done in honor. And when I do that, they're pretty much just falling over themselves to serve. So now, can you all see the document, at least the document on the screen? Can you see this document that says they will faithfully discharge their duties, double entry booking? Can you all see that on the screen?
Yes.
Islam, I can, yes.
Okay, Islam. I just wanted to be sure. So all that they were doing previously was to discharge debt and do double booking on the debt. So now, why am I bringing this up? Because again, we're talking about access to the vast estate and the prosperity that comes with it. So in order to continue to move in that direction, we want to make sure we look at the language that we've been using and the language that's and what's really been happening based on what we've been saying. So discharge, I looked this word up because they were all taking an oath to faithfully discharge their duties. And I'm thinking, does that mean you're going to do your duty, or what does that really mean? Well, they were talking money, but they were talking debt, not money, debt. They were talking debt. So I said, let me pull this word discharge apart and look at it again, because we've looked at this word before in the past, and we said, okay, let's take another look at that word, because it's important that we see it for what it really is. So just one moment. I want to put this word on the screen. So this is what we did. We took the word apart, and then we said, let's look up what this means. And just one moment. I think there is a little bit of Justice Sheikh Klein. Did you have something that you were wanting to put on the table? Islam. There was just a little bit of noise coming from your line, so I wanted to be sure that we heard you. If you wanted to add your wisdom to what's being stated. So I looked up the word dis. Now, whenever you look in the dictionary and you see a word and it has a minus sign in front of it, that means they're defining it as a prefix instead of as a word. Because all prefixes are actually words also. Just like the prefix ab. If we use it as a prefix, then it means not. But if we use it as a word, then it means from or of. So this, it means from or before. In other words, a reversal. Just one moment. Let me put that on there. It means a reversal. It's a prefix noting a separation, a negation, or a reversal. In other words, it means not. So that's what it was supposed to mean. To faithfully discharge, that means to not charge for your duties. Well, that's not what happened, though. So that means that their discharge does not mean what our discharge means. And then it says here, from word bases not actually found as individual English words. That means that they have a Latin or some other language that they derived from, that they came from as a base word, as a whole word. So now let's look at that. They're saying that this means away, apart, as to dismiss or to disperse. Disperse, you could spell that D-I-S-P-U-R-S-E, because when you disperse, that means it's like taking it from your purse and giving it out. But I want to look here at dis and die, or D, here as a word. It says twice or double. So when they say discharge, that means to charge twice, which is almost the opposite of this dis. Dis and die means twice or double, and we've talked about this word when we talk about the word indigenous. Indigenous, that means not of two genes. We're of one gene. Indigenous, we're of one. And from that one comes all. E pluribus unum. So this is where double booking comes in at. So when they say that they're going to faithfully discharge their duties, they're saying they were going to charge twice in anything that they did. Double booking of the debt. So now when we say we're going to faithfully discharge the duties of our office, what are we saying? We're saying we're going to credit twice. And that's going to take care of that double booking piece. Now, we know the debt is not our debt. We know that. But when we say, so therefore, I won't say but, I'll say therefore, we know the debt is not ours. Therefore, whenever we credit twice, what are we doing? We're crediting the one we give the credit to, and we're also crediting ourselves again. So our accounts can never be empty because the credit is ours also. Whenever we record what we give, for example, if we print out some fiduciary money or some delarium and we give it, we have to record in our books that we gave it. Well, when we record it in our books, it's a credit to our books. Yes, it went out, but it's still a credit in terms of the accounting, whereby we say that, yes, it went out, but this is credit that went out, not debt, because we don't even make debt. We can't even use debt. We don't make it, we cannot use it. Dis and die means twice or double. So now, where is that even put in the legal code book? Let's bring that up in the legal code book. In the legal code book, So Isaiah the 61st chapter, verses 7 and 8. And again, we're still talking about the state of our state and the state of our nation, where we are right now. And I'm just telling you what's happening right now. And I want to say what you're about to experience. And again, this is according to the law about what we are experiencing and what we're about to experience. Here it says, "For your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double." That means two of everything. Two of everything. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. For I, the Lord, love judgment. And you can just say that for yourself because you're the Lord. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And we covenant with each other. So it's by, and again, this is court language right here. For I, the Lord, love judgment. You have to have a court in order to get the double. To faithfully discharge, and see, as justices, we faithfully discharge the duties of our office. That means we credit twice.
Islam.
Islam.
Can you go back to the verse, please?
To the verse?
Yes. Because I looked up the word confusion, right?
It means war. Yeah.
It also means the state of being bewildered or unclear in one's mind about something. And so when I'm rereading this sentence with that definition in mind, so it should read now, and for their state of being bewildered or unclear in one's mind about something, rejoice in their portion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes back to the previous verse that you had read and broke down. And so, yeah, for them in their land, they shall possess
Islam. Yes, Islam. Thank you for that, Empress. The first thing we do is go to the dictionary to see what's really going on. If we really want to know, go there, go to the legal code books, look in the books and see. Confusion means war, and we are absolutely 100% at peace. We know we're talking about us because it's talking about, therefore in their land they shall possess the double. That is where we are right now. All we have to do is demonstrate that. Because again, the legal code book, the Bibliotheliotech is the legal code book. Charge. We know charge means burden or and we it's in the Bibliotheliotech. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. So burden is a command, or charge rather. Charge is a command. It says it right there in number 4. Charge is a command. Just one. There it is. Charge is a command. And Justice, you were just talking about the word custody. Charge, custody. There it is right there. Plain as day. Where everything is. Just one moment. Let me move this to the center of the page. It means custody. That's what a charge really is. It's custody. It is a trust, care, safekeeping, custody. It says the person or thing committed to another's custody, care, or management, a trust. It says in law, instructions given by a judge to a jury. A debt, an entry of money, or the price of goods on the debit side of an account. So in their custody, it was a debit. And that's why we have to issue credit to get it. So we're issuing credit to get it. What is credit? A receipt saying that it's already paid for. And that brings us to what we were talking about last week, or on this past Sunday, about the groceries, the grocery demonstration, and getting the things on our land that we see, that we know is rightfully ours, but the process and the protocol must be in place. And the best way to know what the protocol is to look up the words involved in what's being done. And so for the debt, just by virtue of us placing it in the custody of someone else previously, that created a debt, because anything that's not anything that we have and that we produce is a credit. Anything that if we place it in their custody, because see, technically they're not even supposed to have custody of anything. It automatically became a debt, and guess what they became? A lien. They became a lien. A-L-I-E-N. And some pronounce that alien. But that's what it is, actually. So when you talk about status, nationality, and then you start talking about aliens, you're talking about a lien, a debt. That's what an alien is, a debt. A charge. And then here it says, number 12, the position of a weapon fitted for an attack or combat. We're not at war, we're at peace. And again, if something is called a weapon, or it's in a position of a weapon, that means that it's against anything that we're doing, because we're not even at war. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Charge, to load a gun. So we have, in order for peace to continue to reign on our land, because we've declared peace and proclaimed peace, in order for that to continue, and it will, we must issue credits for the things that are there. Because guess what? The fiat is not even able to get the stuff barely anymore. The fiat is not even able. There are people who have fiat that they're still being told, nope, you can't have that. And they give them some bogus up vocabulary to tell them why they can't have it. But in reality, fiat cannot buy that which does not belong to debtors and corpses. It doesn't belong to them, to debtors and corpses. So we must do the demonstrations that we've been talking about doing, and that we've actually been doing. Let me correct myself, because we've been actually demonstrating. We see that. We see the results of our demonstrations. We provide proof of our demonstrations. So, and when I say we, I mean the Moors on this, all of us. We've been providing proof of our demonstrations, and now we just have to keep going in that area and continue to issue credit for everything. Now, having said this, that should tell us why we have the authority to issue receipts already. Because the receipt is taking care of the double booking that was being done. For example, a couple of weeks back, I showed you a purchase order for a conveyance. Well, I had to put all of that information onto an affidavit, and that affidavit is actually the receipt for the conveyance. So by doing that, all I had to do was present that as a receipt, and the conveyance is paid for, and the double booking has stopped. Now, speaking of receipts, Empress Chitali brought something in her research this week. She's another matriarch who really does research the things, and she will fact check you. So we know we can't come. She will fact check. And most Moors do, and we want Moors to fact check. So she came across some information, some links to a video that, in fact, I'm going to go and pull the links from under our video from Sunday regarding the receipts piece, because we talked about presenting receipts for the things because everything is already paid for. Islam Empress.
So I jokingly call myself the ancestor straw man, because whenever I'm researching or, they just put it in my head and, and get my arms moving and typing, because because I'm not using any kind of logical sequence. It's just stuff that pop up in my head, and it just happened to be something that works. And so, that's the ancestors all the way. I'm just a vessel.
Islam. Empress, that is how we operate. We just let them bring forth the information and speak and do, and we agree. We affirm.
Yeah.
Islam. I put 2 links in the chat, Moors. One of them is a receipt website. When Empress Chitali gave this information and we looked at it, we were like, they were already doing what we're starting to do now. What we actually have the right to do. They were already creating receipts with the logos at the top of the companies and turning them in. And that's what the first link that we put in the chat, and we will put it under this video on Light Tajiri Bay channel on YouTube, and as well as publish it on social media on Facebook. But listen, the things that we're doing is nothing new. Creating our fiduciary money is nothing new. Creating our own receipts showing that things are paid for is nothing new. This is all things that have been being done, and the more we research and look into it, it's like, okay, they're showing us how to do it because they've been doing this while we were asleep. Now that we're awake, we can see this. And so I had created some flight plans, and I showed you all the flight plans. Well, all I have to do now with those flight plans is, even though the time has passed, but it got me ready for flight in the future, in the coming days and weeks and months, where those flight plans that I created and showed on this platform, all I have to do at the top of that is put what do I put at the top of that? I put Article 3, Trust Purchase Order Invoice Credit Receipt at the top of it. And then with regard to the grocery receipts and all of these receipts, they're probably going to want to know, well, how do we zero out this? So like when we go to the grocery store and we're demonstrating our sovereign status and showing that everything is prepaid already, because remember, we've been saying things are prepaid. They are prepaid. Then all that has to be done is that AA 222141 needs to be coded into the exchange. And when AA 222141A1 is coded into the exchange, it will zero out the whole receipt. So then the system has what it needs in order for everything to balance, for the credits to be there. Those who've worked in grocery stores before, or those who have demonstrated, because I found this out demonstrating not taxed status. Some years, like 2 or 3 years ago, I was demonstrating at the grocery store a not taxed receipt, and they said, well, how do we even put that in there? And this is what they said. They said, in order for something to be not taxed, you're supposed to have an 8-digit code that we put in the system, and the system will take the tax off. And so I said, well, AA 222141 is 8 digits. So put that in there and see what happens. And bing, the taxes were not calculated in. It zeroed out where it said sales tax 0. Well, we can zero out the entire receipt because all of that was a tax on stuff that's already, it's our stuff already. It was just being held by custodians. But it's already ours. So that is the code that would be used, and you can put that on the receipt when you print your receipt out before. So this is what a grocery demonstration will look like. And empresses who've already demonstrated this, and the empresses who we've had these discussions, please feel free to add your wisdom to this. Before you go, and we've always said, let your paperwork precede you. We've been saying that from day one, because that's what our teachers taught us, and then we also let that happen in our demonstrations that we've done. So before you go to the grocery store to demonstrate your sovereign status, or anywhere, or a conveyance place, or where domiciles are concerned, you'll type up or itemize what it is that you're getting. You want to itemize your receipt. And the type of receipt that it is, and again, I put something in the chat, and you can tailor this according to the way the Spirit leads you. Article 3, Trust Purchase Order Invoice Credit Receipt. That's what my receipt is going to be titled, and it is given as a quo warranto mandamus restitutio. So it's going to look just like our documents look at the top. It's going to say that at the top. It's going to have the court action language, and then it's going to have an itemized list of whatever I'm getting, because you can look it up online. You can look at the price of it and put all of that stuff there online and put it into your document. And because the document is a credit, you can even put prepaid. Article 3, Trust Purchase Order Invoice Prepaid Credit Receipt.
Islam, are you showing the screen right now? Because we don't see it.
You may not see it. Morris, can you all see the word charge on the screen?
Oh, I thought you was reading your receipt that you had created.
I'm not reading it.
All right.
I'm putting in the chat what the title of the receipt is, and I'll go ahead and bring up one of the receipts that I created. That's a good idea, Empress. Thank you. Let me see. I did a receipt for let's see. I'll pull up that. Here, I'll pull that up so we can look at it. I did do this, didn't I? Boy, I tell you, we end up doing so much. I also want to bring up the one that I was given so you can see the difference and where it came from. Moors, I tell you, we work. We really do. All of us do. I know we do. So first, let me show you what I was given. I was given a purchase order when I went to the conveyance automobile dealership. The Moor that was there, the sleeping Moor that was there, gave me a purchase order. Let me show you first the purchase order, which is on the screen. It's a vehicle buyer's order, Mercedes-Benz of Tacoma. This is ignore my writing there. I was just writing some notes out and writing some things out. Now, the reason why we don't use their purchase order is because here it says buyer, Pauline Ritchie. Well, I didn't write this, so that's not me. Because if they can attach this name to me, if I accept their person, then I accept the debt that they're saying is an unpaid balance. That's why we create our own documents. We look at what they've done, and then we say, okay, we're going to create our own Article 3 purchase order, credit, prepaid receipt. And I didn't know to call it a receipt before until we had the call last week. It's what you call it. It's the name you give the document. But I did go ahead and create a see, they can add all of this stuff to, they get to call all the shots if you accept their person. If you say, I'm the buyer, if you say that, and you accept this right here, this all caps black name that they put on the document, then you're accepting that you owe a debt. And you can't have it if you owe a debt and don't give them whatever their corpse, they expect their corpse to do. This demonstration was done here. You can see the date stamp here. And then I think it was the next week that we talked about this, July 20th. So we talked about it at probably the end of July or the beginning of August. So then what I did was, Morris, I said, okay, I'm going to take everything that they have done here, and I'm going to make up my own receipt. And this is mine. Yes. We have to put our own see, I can put Pauline Ritchie on stuff all day in black ink. And because of my fiduciary document, that's me, and it's going to say credit this and credit that and credit the other. because they don't have the authority to even speak my name. And when I say my name, a name is a tool. It's a tool. I have my appellation, but Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters is a natural person name on a piece of paper. It's not me. It's on a piece of paper. It's a tool. It's an account. It's a tool. So I created my own. I said, okay, I'll just create my own and make it look similar and all of that. It's a quo warranto mandamus restitutio writ for possession. And that's what I called it at the time, but I should have put the word receipt here. That's what should have been done, because all they need in order for all the system needs, not them, but the system. All the system needs is a receipt saying that it's paid for in order for us to take custody of that which is already ours. Okay? So I could have called this a receipt and still got the conveyance. It's just that I didn't go back because the ancestor said, okay, you've done good by doing this document right here. You know, I put everything here, and then it says here at the bottom, amount due 0. And I know this is small, the writing and the words are small, but it says here at line 17, amount due 0. And then what did I do? I marked it down myself because I was not going to pay full, the prepaid. Even though it's prepaid, I wasn't going to give what they were saying give. I was going to give what I thought was a good, fair price, because I'm a good steward of my vast estate. I'm a good steward. I'm going to have it marked down, even though we have all the money in the world. Okay. Yes, Empress Chitali said, should we say credit due? Sure. Sure. Or credit applied, or credit paid already, because it's already paid. It's already paid. So nothing is due. But you can put credit due right here where you say prepaid amount, because that's what we put here. I put prepaid amount. And then I said, see, attach Universal Commercial Code 1 lien affidavit, because I've liened everything moving. And then in the notes section, I put the state's sovereign right of possession is remedied in accordance with the supreme law of the land, the Constitution for the United States, 1789 and 1791, the bankruptcy law of 1933, the emergency banking law of 1933, House Resolution 192 of 1933, U.S. Department of Justice Tax Non-Obligated Public Law AA 222141, Supreme Court rulings and opinions, and all other applicable federal and state laws. And when we talk about state, we're talking about our state, the living state, the creditor state, not the debtor state. And you will know that because they will be getting this from our state. It's not something they created in their debtor state. It's something we created in our creditor state. And then it says, it is the fiduciary's responsibility of this Article 3 United States Supreme Court to take control of or marshal all assets comprising the estate or trust, especially when the said fiduciary has assumed office at the grantor's or testator's death. The prerequisite to immediate access to all accounts is the fiduciary providing these court affidavits stating our authority and producing a death certificate. And with this will go the death certificate for the United States Corporation Company. And then it says, additionally, any person to whom the office of fiduciary of any state is so transferred shall, for all the purposes of this action, become and are deemed to be the trustee for the state, and the person from whom the office was transferred shall be deemed to have resigned that office. That means they're removed from it. They're out of it. This court possession action supersedes all others, and further court actions regarding state property are forthcoming. By the hand and honor of the fiduciary, whose autograph is hereby placed, former custodian's acknowledgement is given that affirms that the said custodian has read this action, has received a true copy of this action, and assents to this action. There it is. and I dated it for August 3rd, which is my solar return. And I never did have the opportunity to take this back. And I just move when the ancestors say move. They tell me, they give me a step, and then they'll say, okay, you did that. Now let's give you one last step. And on September 11th, they gave us the receipt step. Because that way, by the time you get to a receipt, you know that the whole transaction has been taken care of, that you've addressed each and every part of the transaction. They didn't give us receipt until now. Islam nobility.
Yes, it's Izine. I want to know, where did you get the autograph, the signature of the so-called salesman?
I went online and got, because as the fiduciary, we can do that. We go online, and because he's liened, okay, we did a $100 million lien against the corpse, Robert Larson. And when we did that, that notified them that the debtor is indeed in debt and bankrupt. And they've been bankrupt since 1933, by the way, or really since 1871, or 1776 if you want to go back that far. And so that's where I got it from. I went online and looked up the signature and put it on my document, because as the fiduciary, that's how you liquidate. See, this is a liquidation action. That's why we quoted the bankruptcy law of 1933 and House Resolution 192 and all of that. This is a liquidation court action.
Islam, did you create that beautiful template on somewhere, or did it come to you by way of ancestors?
It came to me by way of the ancestors. I just looked at what they did, and I said, okay, I'm going to put some lines on the paper. They're going to be in blue, and I'm going to do this. So you
created it with the ancestors' assistance. So it's not like you can Google it and it'll come up. You had to sit there and painstakingly do it.
It wasn't pain for me. It was a joy for me to do it.
Well, it's a term I need to not use again. So
you don't want to do it, Empress, because you think it's pain.
Well, you comprehend, what I was getting at.
I do.
Okay. And so, but yes, the tedious, then I could just say, but the details that it all that part.
I just think that, if they sat down and took the time to do all the stuff they did to usurp, this is my job. This is what I do. And I'll even put this under the video. So that
you'd be so kind. Thank you.
Islam.
This is what we do. Islam nobility.
In terms of your existing conveyance, are you going to use that as a trade-in value, or are you just going to keep that at home at your dwelling?
I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that one. I'm keeping it.
Right.
And actually, I'm thinking about my conveyance. The one you're thinking about is probably my daughter's conveyance. She has a silver conveyance. I have one that my consort gave me back in mid 2000s. It's a classic now because it's over 20 years old. But it's we had matching back in our fleet. We had matching Mercedes, where he has a tan colored Mercedes and I have a tan colored Mercedes, and they're old, early 2000s. And so I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to ever get rid of that. I'm going to keep it. But if I was going to trade it in, Emperor, I would just write that in as another credit.
Correct.
It'll just be another credit, and then
you got a second conveyance. Yes,
absolutely. See, remember what we said at the beginning. We're discharging, so it's double. It's double. So we're getting double for the trouble that we had previously.
Islam. The trade-in value wouldn't be substance for substance, so that can't even be a thing of a I trade, because what are they giving you in for trade that you would technically not be giving them? There's no substance for value.
Well, what we're really preparing for is to be doing business with other Moors who own the dealerships, because we're the CEOs of all of that.
This is true.
So, we'll be using lawful money. So whenever we do something like that and we do a trade-in, if that amount is not deducted from the credit and given back to us and put in our bank account, because that's really what should happen, is you should get some gold back, lawful money back, or some credits back into your bank account when you go and give credit out. You should be getting credit back. Credit should be flying all over the place.
Islam. In case of HJR 192, they cannot dictate to you as to the form of payment that's so stated in HJR 192. And at the same time, no, I'm just saying, because you had listed it somewhere.
You're right.
As in your footnote there, not within the footnote, the rear of this particular receipt.
Yes.
You right. HJR 192. And at the same time, there is no money. And HJR so state that. HJR 192 so state that.
There actually is money.
Not in terms of whatever you decide money is, that's the true tender.
Yeah.
But HJR 192 so state that no one can dictate to you your method of payment.
Indeed. Islam. And the acts of states say, or the laws where states are concerned, state that they can't do that either. No other state can reach into your state and say you have to use this or you have to use that. No other state can do. Japan is not coming over here saying we got to use Japanese yen, because they know that's not a thing. But we, on the other hand, can go to other places and say you actually have to use this. We're the only ones at Earth who can do that. Why? Because the whole estate is ours. And that's why, and that's the model that the United States Corporation Company, quote unquote, was using when they would go somewhere and hand somebody a bunch of fiat. They were saying, the Moors sent us, so y'all got to use whatever we say use, because the Moors sent us. And so now we're saying everybody lawful money, and use your national currencies, or if you want, you can use what we have. So you're absolutely right, nobility. No one can tell us what to do in terms of the money that we use in anything. That means the grocery store down the street can't tell you. However, we have to be competent in demonstrating that, yes, we know that you were the custodian and that this stuff was just held in custody until we came. So it's not their stuff. But we gave them a job to do. We said previously, okay, your job is to keep this from anybody who's not us. And even if someone looks like us, if we're not saying the right words and speaking like the God and the Lord of these things and the heirs of these things, don't give them. Wait until you hear the right sound, the words, the frequency. So let me show you also more, because this is the receipt right here, really. And at the time that I was creating it, I didn't know that it was the receipt. But our ancestors, whenever they say do something and you do it, they're going to show you that it's connected to what's coming next. That's why I get excited about the stuff they say, because they're always going to say this is what's coming. They don't tell you at the time that you're doing this for this reason. They don't always say you're doing this because you're actually creating a receipt and all you got to do is hand it to them. They don't say that. They say do this. Make that your own. Take the time to do it. Because when you take the time to do it, it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. And, you know, to me, a very thorough presentment from the Moors is further proof that it's us. Because we do everything with excellence, excellent, excellent, excellence. So let me show you the lien, because the lien is here also. I pulled that up, and I also pulled up the fiduciary letter. So let me show you those documents, because it may seem like a lot of paperwork, but wait till you see the amount of paperwork that they were using to even try to claim the things that they were claiming. The ancestors said, do this, so I said, okay, I will do it. Okay, so here's the lien. It is a quo warranto mandamus restitutio. When people talk about reparations, we don't get reparations. We proclaim judgment by way of restitution. Quo warranto mandamus restitutio. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's on the screen. It is a written initial universal commercial code 1 affidavit and writ for possession, financing statement, lien, and Article 3 court action. Why do we have those long titles? Because everything that we do is always going to be a sovereign mix of actions that only the sovereigns can put them all into one document. While we were asleep, we said there had to be a separate bailiff and a separate judge and a separate this and a separate that. Everything had to be separated. But now that the sovereigns are here, everything can be put into one. And so the debtors, we liened everyone, everything claiming anything. We liened them. And we literally could have put we have their signatures. We could have put their signatures on the bottom of this lien if we wanted to. However, we said no, with them affirming that, yes, they've been liened and they agree that they've been liened, with a statement saying, yes, I know I've been liened, and I may even do that. But we also have the inferior courts. We have 4 inferior county courts who have affirmed the things that we've done. And then we've also provided notification to the office, the former custodian previously in the Office of the Federal Reserve, the Library of Congress, and United States Postal Service. It says Office of the PMG here. So everything that we do, when we put it on the public record, that is notification. And then we go ahead and send and mail and carry, however we get it there, we get it there. Mail it, do our postmaster duties, etc. So this is the lien that was done, and we just liened every part that needed to be liened, that we felt, the ancestors were saying, okay, make sure you lien this one, this one, this one, and this one. We said, sure, we'll do that. And then another document that we did was this document, which is the fiduciary document for Mercedes-Benz. And this one is just stating that we're the fiduciary according to the law, and it's signed Ola Kalinius, Office of the Chairman of the Board, Daimler AG, which is America Group, and Mercedes-Benz America Group, and then Mercedes-Benz Group. So that's the paperwork, and mind you, the documents, again, we have the 40 documents in red on the public record. We didn't have to send those because they're on the public record of who we are. We don't have to send, so then anything that we send is going to be in blue. either blue or blue and black, depending on who we're saying is stating it. Are there any questions about that demonstration? And yes, this is going to be the template that we use where conveyances are concerned, and then call it a receipt like we're supposed to. And then making sure that insurance is in place, and that's why we leaned, we added some things to the lien where insurance are concerned, because we have to create an indemnis facier for the conveyance, and that needs to be sent with all of this. It needs to be insured beforehand. Okay, and then you have to know that if something happens, that your court is the court that's going to be deciding anything. So you move money around by your court, because some people will say, well, if something happens, how do I get it fixed? You use your lien, the same process with any services that are needed. Same thing. Islam nobility.
I was thinking, would you be taking in consideration of creating an additional paragraph whereby you are given a command to take possession of that conveyance with the keys, commanding them to hand over the keys upon your arrival within the body of your document?
I could do that. I could have them, and I feel more comfortable having them deliver it, because that's how you deliver. That's how high net worth, people get what they get. It's brought to us. We don't have to go and get anything. It can be brought to us.
That's
and
true,
we can include delivery. Say again, nobility?
You're right. I was thinking about when, say, for instance, if you take your Mercedes to the dealership for repairs, or say, for instance, you were broken down, your car broke down on you on the street, they will bring out a Mercedes for you to use until your car's repaired. The same way about delivery. They will deliver to your home or a service vehicle until your car's released from their auto parts service division.
Yes. And with Mercedes, because we've always driven Mercedes in my consort and I, from way back when we first got together. That was what we had in our minds about what we wanted to do in our sleep. Mercedes even has it where they will wash the conveyance every week for the life of ownership of the vehicle. Where you just take it to the dealership and they wash it and they vacuum it out and clean it up and armor all the tires and all of that. And we used to just go regularly for that all the time. But then, I stopped contracting because I was like, okay, wait a minute, we need to stop and make sure that. And so that hasn't been done in years, but we wanted to get these processes in place. So everything came to a stop for us. Contracting and all of that came to a stop until this. Now we feel comfortable. Okay, now we can go and do what needs to be done, and we don't have to contract because we're doing affidavits already and liquidating the estate, and that's going to help take care of the backlog, because there's a backlog. There are conveyances that have been on the assembly line, and they're sitting there waiting. The assembly lines had to stop because they had so many conveyances and no one to get them.
Islam. You are, since you mentioned that, they have a lot of brand new automobiles out in the Riverside, in the Khalifa territory, the outlying area, just out in the desert. Brand new automobiles, never been driven. They're there by the thousands at a tremendous discount, and on top of that, they don't have a chip that's solely manufactured by China. So those new vehicles were delivered without the chip, and they're just out in the desert collecting dust. Anyone can pick up one. Yeah. At a tremendous discount.
Yeah. And for us, when with this demonstration, I did it thinking of one conveyance, but we really need to do it for the whole dealership so that all Moors can come and get conveyances.
Islam.
You know, and that needs to be earth-wide, that they can go down, right down the way and get conveyances. Because there are so many. There are so many. Islam.
Good question. What's the discount? I'm gonna be so bougie one day that I'm gonna be like, what's the discount?
Ooh, but think about that word and think about what this means. This means two or double.
Okay.
That means
Okay,
you count it twice.
Yeah.
So
Discount.
yeah, I mean, Islam nobility.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if you could hear me. You was mentioning that you'd rather have it delivered. Now, would that be by the sheriff?
It can be by however I choose. I will most likely choose that the custodians at Mercedes-Benz deliver it. But I could have the sheriff deliver it. Well, who's the sheriff? Me. I could go get it.
Yeah.
You know.
Do that.
I'm the sheriff. I'm the fiduciary. I'm the owner and CEO of Mercedes-Benz. We all are.
Yes.
So we get to choose.
Yeah, I like that delivery.
Islam, Empress.
Did you do this document on Excel?
How did I do this document? I did it in WordPad.
Okay.
I did it in WordPad. But you can do it in Google Sheets, or you can do it in Excel, or any of that.
Okay.
I think it might have even been Google Sheets. I don't have Excel. I don't have Word. I just have Google Sheets, and I think I did do it in Google Sheets.
That's impressive for Google Sheets. I think I have to figure out that, because doing them charts it gets really tricky. So
yeah. I'm pretty sure I did it in Google Sheets. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My other question was when you were referring to the AA2241 truth, because right now it's coded in that system to take off what they think is tax, which is that percentage. So is there anything we need to do as a nation to have it be no tax at all things be taxed, so that when we do bring our receipts to the register that it is zero, because right now
you're going to put zero at the bottom of your receipt that you produced.
Okay, so we're not going to the register then.
You can go to the register, and the reason I say you can go is because, again, we're in transition. So if you want to find out what it is that you're looking to see, then go ahead and feel comfortable going to a register so that they produce a receipt. Because, see, it's going to be two receipts produced, or one receipt produced. You're going to bring yours, and then they're going to produce one from the register that matches yours. They have to match. Okay? And in order to zero it out, yours is already going to show that it's zeroed out. But you will also have a lien and all of that and that stuff is going to be already in place. They know they're lien, they know they're bankrupt, they know that we're the fiduciaries and all of that. So to zero it out, AA222141 will do that. In fact, I went to the grocery store probably about 2 months ago to get just I think it was some soy sauce or something, because I had seen in the newspaper where there was it was buy one get one free or something like that. And I went to go and get and take it to the I went to the store to get it, and it wasn't showing that in there, and in fact it was showing a higher amount. And I spoke to the manager and I said, well, this is actually supposed to be I'm supposed to be getting one of these free, and this is not even the right price. This price is too high. So shouldn't I be getting this at no cost? And all she did, she didn't ask me anything. She didn't do anything. All she did was went to the register and went clink, 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 zero, and I got both of them free.
Okay. So we can now.
Code.
Okay. So now now it's our understanding. We know that all of the, amounts that they're putting on these things are taxed, and so the AA21 truth now, we have to let them know that we know that this is everything, not just a small percentage.
Yep. Because
okay.
they're custodians of, it's already our stuff. So anything that's attached to it is going to be considered a tax. And if you're bankrupt,
you have to let them know that that's what that means. Just put this code in. This is what it means.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the code is on file with the U.S. State Department, which is really us.
I actually went to Aldi's and I was just curious about it, and because I haven't demonstrated that code yet. Mm-hmm. And so I had asked about it, and she was like, you have to go and do this form on the website and everything. And I was like, okay, well, that just tells me I have to send affidavits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff. So so that means that having your receipt basically already printed and stuff like that is the way. So that makes sense. Yeah. All right, I yield. Thank you.
Islam. If anyone remembers the extreme couponing shows that they would have, and if y'all would watch that, you would have people go through the newspaper circular ads and cut coupons, and they would have like 10 and 12 grocery carts full of food, and they would get multiples of everything, and they would sit there, and how you would bring up the receipts would matter in the sequence that they would be given as far as on the conveyor belt. And at the end, some of those people would get money back after they did all their receipts because of the coupon values that they would be using. So it's like, okay, from that perspective, we have our receipt, so we are getting our credit back, and they're getting their credit. So that's the double booking in that respect. And yeah, everything is zeroed out.
Yeah.
You walk on.
Yeah, zeroing things out is something they do all the time anyway. It just depends on whatever, what you say it's being zeroed out for. So, are there any other questions or comments with regard to this? Let me also show you the and all of these things that I'm showing you is demonstrations that we're absolutely 100% going to finish, because we already started them. We are going to finish them. Let's see. I want to show you one other. Document that can be used as a receipt also. Let's see. And what did I? Airline. I want to show you a flight. A flight demonstration. Maybe I'll save that for next time. I'll save the flight demonstration for next time. And all it is it's just going to be some flight plans that we made, and we did the fiduciary document, we did the liens, we did everything really, except produce a receipt. And the flight plans itself could have been the receipt, but we didn't have that at the time that we had planned on taking the flight. And the ancestor said, if you wait just a little bit longer, we will show you how to make that work. So I didn't go on the trip that I had planned. And as soon as that time span was over, the ancestor showed me the rest of that demonstration and how to do it. And Moors, we have access to the best of everything. We just need to keep doing what we're doing right now, which is look at the processes, bring the processes forth, talk about them, discuss them among each other, and then decide how we want to demonstrate them, and then demonstrate them. This dialogue that we're having and this congressional assembly that we're having is what the custodians were waiting to hear. And again, we're not trying to impress anybody because we do what we do. But this is what our ancestral energies were waiting to hear, is us do what we're doing now. And as we demonstrate, we can demonstrate and not be afraid to demonstrate. And go ahead and do it, and we'll get the answers. Islam nobility.
Yes, I was thinking about your flight addendums. Yeah. Now, say for instance, you submit your receipt. Are you going to, within the body of your affidavit, show departure, date, time, place, return trip, date, time, and place, all in one affidavit?
Yeah, it does. All I did was go online, go to American Airlines, pull up the flights, put in the dates and all of that, and it pulled up everything. It pulled up the flight number. I got to choose a seat and all of that, and then it showed how much it was going to be, and I took that information and put it in my affidavit. That's the receipt. Okay. And then just zero it out, mark it paid, AA222141, and then send that off. And that's why we send our documentation ahead of us, and a lien and all of that. We send all of that ahead of us in a fiduciary document from American Airlines stating that who we are, and that we're the fiduciary, and it's the former custodian previously in the office of president. It has that signature at the bottom, and just showing the financial process, the law financially and commercially, how that's to be done. Since you've asked about the flight piece, and I said I was going to go, I'll show you that demonstration at another time, but it does have all of that on there. The ancestor showed me that as government officials, that we have the option of not flying commercial, that we can fly, and this is something they showed me and I didn't even realize we had this option, that we can fly from county airports. County airports are directly connected to the land, and generally, county airports are more personalized. And when I say more personalized, that's the place where CEOs fly from, county airports. And they have their own private planes and jets and things like that there, all of which have been confiscated by the Moors because none of them pay for them. And it's more of a boutique type atmosphere. And when I say boutique, generally county airports are a lot smaller, and the service is way higher end than just a commercial something for the masses. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because they get safe flight too. We made sure of that. But you may want to do your research on county airports and what county airport is near you, and get your documentation going. And we already have the county stamps, and the inferior courts are already doing as commanded already.
Yes, Mom. We have a county one out in Schenectady, New York. Along in my research today, I was looking for information for the inferior courts to do leaning in information and such, and I wanted to see, their names, and I went and clicked on one of the links, and it said authorized, not approved, which to me, I saw that as they don't have any names to be putting on a website to letting them know that they have no judges, that part. And then also, I did some more further digging, and I sent it to you in WhatsApp, Sister Light. And there was this document that looked too familiarly close as far as how the resignation and fiduciary letters were crafted. It just had their logo, and it had their company name, and it had things spelled out. One of them didn't even have a signature on the end of it, and the other one did, and it was typed out. It didn't even have a signature. And one of them was referring to somebody leaving office as the custodian in this office of clerk, and then it had the name listed as the next one. So I looked up the person that was taking, quote unquote, the ipso jure status of the clerk, and I couldn't find nothing on her. So that got me thinking, like, okay, so they already know they're subject ipso jures, and so they just put a name on paper, apparently, to appease the people and making them think that they have a government in show, and they're waiting on us to give the command.
Yeah, we're the clerks.
And also, I found some other information I believe I share with you also in regards to the Bar Association and in regards to the education, the foolery system for the future ones who want to become that dead state. And I was reading and I'm saying, well, dear God, this just means that another affidavit has to be commanding them to be told how to, educate the true Moors who would want to assist the people in counsel and so on and so forth. And because the language was stating that any students and any persons who were coming up through that would have to be supervised. It states it in the document, supervised. So I was reading into the young heirs, and I was like, who supervises the ipso jures? It's the Moors. So I was like, this is just stating that the affidavit has to be written, competently expressing unambiguously that they have to adhere to the treaties. They have to adhere to, all sovereign Moorish land, treaties, natural law, divine law, and all these different things. And they have to be either Moor or to ascend to their status of ipso jures to even be, anywhere near, law. So,
okay, so know that you're writing that for yourself.
Well, yeah, that part, but also the people who don't know that they're Moors, that could help them wake up.
Yeah. So all the things that we're writing, everything that we're writing in terms of conveyances and all of that. For example, I just showed you a demonstration with conveyances. I already know that we're going to be the ones doing those exchanges and we're going to be on the other end, and mores are going to be coming in. We're going to be on the other end of that.
Mm-hmm.
In everything, banking, everything that we're writing, we're actually going to be looking at our own documents saying, okay, we got to stay in the treaty. We got to make sure that everyone is eruditioned to the Constitution. We got to make sure that everyone is this, everyone is that. All of that stuff you just said, you're going to be doing it.
I'm aware.
So,
Dear God.
And so, you know, as I'm writing these things, all I'm thinking is I already know ancestors, and I'm ready to do it whenever y'all ready. And they're like, just keep writing, daughter. Just keep writing.
Yep.
Nature. Just keep writing. I say, okay, Mom, I will do that.
Islam, right?
Yeah. Yep, everything that we're writing. And so, you know, sometimes, and that's why we can't write from a place of anger. Because some Moors, I've seen them say, they need to be doing this and this and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, you're just writing for yourself. So you might want to be a little nicer, you know, not nicer, but you might want to be a little more, you know, compassionate. Because you're actually writing for you're dictating how government is going to be done when you're doing it. See, they're out of the way already, really. All we needed to do was say, this is how we're going to be selling conveyances. This is how conveyance is going to work with the creditors. Not selling it, but with the creditors. This is how the creditors get conveyances. This is how the creditors get domiciles. This is how the creditors get this, that, and the third. That's all we're doing, more. This is building the bridge over troubled water. So and that's where the abundance comes from. Is we're the ones dictating how our estate is going to be moved around and operated. And I'm all for that, because it's the same thing repeatedly. It's the same thing over and over for me. I see a pattern, and I'm sticking to that pattern. That pattern is the law. So, are there any other? And Empress, I'm going to take a look at what you sent. I see it here in WhatsApp. I've stayed away from WhatsApp for the last couple of days just to make sure that I get this stuff put together, these items put together, and then preparing to issue receipts, and then also getting some rest and making
Islam.
sure
I concur in that part.
Yeah. Are there any other questions, comments, etc., on any of the things that we put forth?
Islam
nobility.
Yes. And thinking in terms of the conveyance, you have a situation where from their traditional way of doing business, they go through a source called a bank or credit union or whatever, dealing with loans. But as I mentioned before, loans cannot be hypothecated. And you can look at that at 12 U.S.C. Section 73. By law, they cannot hypothecate loans, car loans, boat loans, motorcycles, etc.
So that's how banking was done for the masses.
Exactly. But if they want to give you a rebuttal, you can mention to them that this is law. Even if they try to present the case, well, we can get you a loan. Well, hey, no, be above a loan. I own the place.
We know what the word loan means. When you look up the word loan in the dictionary, it means a gift from a sovereign. So every loan that's ever taken place was a gift from us to some all caps somewhere.
At some point, they may want to take the position saying they're a holder in due course, which we know they are not. And so
I don't have conversations with them. I don't have to talk to them. We don't have to talk to them. We have to notify and send the documentation and say, deliver it here. You got the receipt, you got everything, deliver it here. Will they pick up the phone and try and call you and act like they need to clarify things so they can usurp? Probably. They may do that. I don't know. I don't expect them to do that because I ain't got nothing for them to call. So don't call me. Don't call me. Do as commanded. And they will. They've been doing it thus far, or else I wouldn't even be sitting here. But I am sitting here, so I know they do it. So, Morris, you know, we don't need to have a whole bunch of dialogue. We know what we're doing. We know how much the stuff, everything, how much what the values are. We know what we have to do in order to prove financial solvency. They're insolvent. They shouldn't even be talking. Why do we need to talk to them? To clarify what? Nothing. I did get a purchase order. I could have picked up the phone and got a purchase order by court action, but I chose to go in just to kind of test the waters and see. Because when we're like, I'm like Empress Rose, I'm going to go out there and test and see. And I had my court action language ready in case anything popped off, which it did not. We weren't even expecting anything to pop off, really. But we keep that ready anyway because that's how we do business. But it was a sleeping Moor who did the purchase order. It was a sleeping Moor. And that sleeping Moor, that was another curiosity that I wanted to kind of look into as well, because I'm like, okay, ancestors, how do you want us to deal with them? Because we want to win them through all that we're doing. We still want to win them. And so I did have the opportunity to introduce him to more science and to who he is. And as always, he had heard something about it, but he wasn't sure and didn't really have any information. And could I direct him to places and things? And I said, of course I can. So, you know, I tell him about Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey videos, any videos by Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, anything from House of Reawakening Minds, Light Tajiri Bey channel on YouTube. There's just so many places you can go for that. You can just Google more science and a whole bunch of stuff is going to come up. You know, so I was able to give him, you know, some information about that. And then that was the last I saw of them or heard, because I was at home doing these documents right here, and then I haven't had the opportunity to get back up there. Now, in one of our previous calls, well, I won't even mention that because it's not important, about the hybrid saying, what happened to your whatever, Range Rover or whatever? Of course, they weren't talking to us. But we know that the only reason that any court clown jester would even say something like that is because there's another step that we needed to take in order to make this work. And I heard the ancestors when they said, go ahead and put the purchase order onto another thing and then wait, and we'll give you the rest of it. I said, okay. So I didn't go back there. I just stayed here, and I said, I'm going to do the rest of these work because there were some other things. They wanted to introduce fiduciary money. So between that time and this time, fiduciary money came into play, and other things, finishing up the bankruptcy court proceeding and all of that came into play because they wanted that done even before I did the conveyance demonstration. So we're done with the bankruptcy pronouncement and all of that. That proceeding is finished. Now it's liquidation time, and so that's what these calls are: is how do we liquidate or get the things that are already ours, that are now, you know, waiting for us to do this, to present receipts.
Islam.
Nobility.
I'm thinking you could do the same thing for your mortgage. Create the receipt. Yes.
Absolutely. This works for everything. That's the formula. The formula is nationality first, trust document, termination of corporate contracts, lien on the United States Corporation Company, and a lien on the nom de guerre and the social. So that, see, if I had, listen, the lien on the nom de guerre and the social is so important, so that when they put, like on their purchase order, they put Pauline Ritchie at the top, but that's a debtor. That's why there was a debt showing. Well, that thing is liened, so that thing doesn't have any weight. So now we have to, okay, put the creditor forth. Okay, so, you know, we know what to do, and then present the fiduciary document. To me, the fiduciary document, the fiduciary trustee affidavit is one of the most, well, I can't even say it's one of the most important, because nationality is the most important. But that is a very powerful and very important document, and a very important precept for us to know. Okay. Islam, Empress.
Did you hear back from your counsel concerning the text message and the screenshot I had sent you with the zeroing out and the saying that my credit was paid off?
I did. So, what Empress Angel, do you want to just tell them what you're referring to really quickly, so that we can, so that they know exactly, because it's a wrap, y'all.
Islam. Yes, no problem. I got an email stating that it says, according to your TransUnion report, you recently paid off one of your credit cards. Here's the details. And it states creditor, synchronized Amazon credit limit, and then it says, that's all it says. And now, mind you, I would get emails and everything else stating that you owe blah, 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 blah. Mine, I didn't pay attention, much less care, because I was doing my processes as far as terminating corporate contracts, doing the liens, thus and so, and sending off my packet that I had formulated to Vital Records. And so when I had got that email, what day was it? Yesterday, actually. I was like, Islam, great. This, you know, my efforts and my demonstrations that I've been doing, it's working. And I always know it was working because I commanded it to work. But to see that, you know, I've gotten a receipt, as it were, from the ipso jurors, I was just like, that was a testament to me, and because I haven't checked my credit in forever. I never much really cared, even when I was sleeping, I didn't care about my credit, because for some reason I just knew that it didn't apply to me. So yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, well, something's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I shared it with Empress Light, and she was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So yeah. Islam.
Yeah. And that's why I put this suggestion here. Thank you so much, Empress, for sharing that. The suggestion on the screen is, make sure that you notify the quote-unquote Department of Vital Statistics with regard to your status. Okay, please do that. Islam, nobility. Place a lien.
Also, that point is well taken, to the Vital Statistics Office, but also that so-called birth certificate is also in the Department of Commerce. So I would strongly think that we would need to send nationality documents to the Department of Commerce, because they're trading that birth certificate on an international market.
Not
in
anymore.
your name.
Islam. Can I tag you on that one? Because I went in my own GEMI utility and I looked up my number. And honey, I had over like 500 pages, and I was all over the globe with them using my number. And I looked most recently, and the majority of them say void.
Yep.
Void. They're active, but they're void. And so some of them, I looked at one of them and said, void, and they should have renewed it back in like July 22 or whatever, and I'm like, oh, but it's void, and they didn't renew it. So I'm like, okay, so it's void active status. After it's past its maturity date of being void, it's going to go inactive void. That's how I understand it. So, and really, so anyway, yeah, I have a majority of mine are void at this point, and then eventually they're going to go into the inactive void, because that number, I've done such a great job due diligently leaning my number.
Yeah. So, Morris, the documentation that we're all putting on the public record some people were saying they didn't see any results. You weren't going to see them the next day, but all of that stuff has to catch up with us now, and it's starting to do that. Things are manifesting almost instantly now, that the foundational documents and the nationality and the statehood and all of that is on the public record, and we have our own economy and everything. So everything is starting to really, really manifest, and that's just going to pick up even more so from here.
Islam.
So, Islam nobility.
A lot of Moors are struggling with the fact that they can't, afford life insurance for their family members, their grandparents. But bottom line is, we do not need a life insurance policy, because the death certificate of our loved ones will serve as a live insurance. We take that death certificate to the mortuary, and by no knowledge of the fact that they're going to take it and capitalize on it and receive the benefits of it, when you can do that yourself.
So you would create all of those documents yourself. We create all of that.
Yes.
We created it for a death certificate for the dead United States Corporation Company.
Islam. Yeah, piggybacking on my little sister Angel there.
Mm-hmm.
When your mother goes to her doctor's appointment and she tells the doctor, I missed my cycle, immediately they're going to give you a Social Security number, and they're going to create that bond that Angel's talking about before you're even born. So for those 9 months before you come out, you have a bond every month attached to you. You've been made a slave. Anyway, once we do your termination contracts, all that's done away with, and make sure you lien all those contracts you had, which my little sister has done. Now, I have something else to tell you. For anyone that wants the study guide, that Brother Taj and Sister Natalie L gives out there, you paid it. I already have it, so I'll share it with our brothers and sisters, or sisters and brothers, on the call. I'm going to put my email.
What happened to the sound?
That's what happens when it gets good.
That cut off. Okay, so.
Okay. What happened, nobility, with the sound?
No, I hit it by mistake. Okay, so I put my email in there. So you email me, I'll send you the study guide. Already got it, because I sent it to Chitali.
Islam.
It's real big, so don't put it on your phone, because it'll mess your phone up. You got to have a tablet or a computer, desktop, or laptop.
Islam.
There's a lot of files.
Okay. Islam.
All right. Islam.
Islam.
Is that the one where is that from the thumb drive?
Yeah, that's the thumb drive from the House of Reawakening Minds.
Okay. And then those who get that, you may want to send some sovereign credits, 10 sovereign credits or so, or 20. I don't know how much Empress Nyla charges for that. but you do want to honor her with a small gift donation for that because of the way that she puts that information out. So however much it is for the thumb drive, you would
that's mine. I paid for that.
Right, you pay for yours, but and I know that you're wanting to give that to others, and I'm just saying as a donation to Empress Nyla, if you will,
because what they used to do, we used to go there, give them a drive, and they one by one they would put all the files on your drive. It took forever, so that they came up with that idea. They just had a service that did it, and you give them the money, they'll send you the drive.
Okay, so just get sovereign credits to Empress Nyla for that.
Because now that's from 2019. So they've been updating it, so that doesn't have all the new stuff on it, but it has the stuff from 2019 on there.
Okay.
All the way up to so.
And again, I can't tell sovereigns what to do. That's a suggestion that I'm making. If you would, those who get that from Justice Dawood, if you would please do that to honor her because they put a lot of work into the documentation. So, and I don't normally do things like that, but we know that, we know the spirit that Dr. Nyla gives those documents in, and we want to honor the spirit of what she's doing. So, with that being said, are there any other questions or comments? We had still another topic that we were going to discuss, but we've gone now 3.5 hours. So we'll keep going and we will meet again on Sunday at 6 p.m. Are there any other questions, comments, Wizard? Yes, Islam Nobility. Islam Nobility.
Yes, this is Nobility in Virginia. I want to sort of end and thank you again, big sis, heart, but giving me that erudition. I appreciated that. And thank you, brother, for giving me also that perspective.
Islam.
But for me, I would say I will call them mercenaries. I never called them cops or anything like that.
Yeah.
I've always addressed them just simply as mercenary because I heard Hodge do it, and I know that the Pope addressed them all as mercenaries. But because he got rid of all of their license, and so he just classified all of them as mercenaries. So I call them that. That's the way I address them. All right? So I thank both of you and all the heirs for giving and sharing. Is very, very helpful, and I appreciate it. Islam.
We are absolutely honored by your presence here, Nobility, and I'm actually glad to hear your voice.
I think
because
I get you. I do. If I miss the conference, I definitely try to get the video.
Good.
And as many as I can, spread it here. And it is getting hot. Yes, it is.
Yes, we love
That's why I said I appreciate all the heirs, the brothers and the sisters, what we're doing.
Islam.
Because it is making a difference mentally. Mentally.
Yes. Islam. Yes, you're right about that. It is mentally, we needed the push, and now we were able to push ourselves, together. And so we're doing all of this together, and that's the part I love is that, the pressure is not on any one of us. Everything is so much easier because there are so many of us who are putting our minds together and putting our demonstrations together and doing this. So
yeah, I feel like I was in place because years ago I was sort of recall of the scripture in the heliotext that we say the Bible. They say the Bible. I read it twice in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? And someone pointed out to me the verse where it mentions about the law of Christ in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And where it says, bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. So it stuck with me, and here I am. See?
Yeah. Islam.
I'm in that.
Beautiful.
Islam.
Yes, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Islam nobility.
Yes, Kalhusia Jehuti Ba'in Will.I.Am Shu'il, Manhattan Territory. We were speaking on the liens earlier, so I decided this strong, aka week, to consult with the ancestors, the oracles, practicing this tradition that's over 5,000 years old. I took 3 pennies. I wrote down the questions, which was ancestors, is the liens I'm using effective? And second, should I pursue a tort action in second district court? So anyhow, what came up was after I did the pennies 6 times was the number 43. And I looked in the book, and the first thing it said was, it said resolution. And then it gave the meaning of what all of this was about. So it says the forces that may threaten you are now in a position to be eradicated. It says this must be done without thought of retreat, wholly in the open and without violence. You cannot engage your adversaries in battle in acknowledging their strengths. You engage them and give them power. Instead, you must deny their power by making a firm public resolution to grow in the direction of what is good for your welfare. No compromise is possible. Resolution must spring from your heart and must be voiced to your friends, family, and community. It says, let others know fully of your intentions to overcome obstacles. This should be done calmly, cheerfully, and with authority, thus giving you a psychological advantage such as a master of gamesmanship holds over his opponent. It says these struggles takes place without passion, emotion, or violence, but with inner truth and resolve that do not know defeat. It says the struggle should continue until there is nothing standing in the way of your progress. Your relationship to society at large may require you to announce the truth openly. Open truth can lead to danger, but danger, as pointed out in hexagram number 29, can be a very good thing for all concerned. This could refer to a legal proceeding or a pronouncement of your intentions to effect change. Resolution calls for peaceful, nonviolent method. Your attitude should be friendly but uncompromising. Remember, it says you're dealing with truth, and therefore all else must be discredited. In personal relationships, you may now openly make a resolution to overcome difficulties by making progress in constructive directions. This will surely strengthen the bonds between you. When dealing with children, point out the possibilities rather than focusing on negative issues. It goes on to say, however, when taking a stand in righteousness, be certain that you harbor no internal manifestation of the difficulties you've resolved to overcome. You cannot fight corruption with corrupt motives, injustice with self-serving interests, or lies with hidden deceptions. In the process of making a public resolution, you must openly examine all aspects of yourself. If you are filled with self-satisfaction and pride, dispense with these attitudes in order to grow further. If you are miserly, miserly, in pride, in part self, in accumulation and information, distribute them to others so that more will flow through your hands. One who is too full can develop no more and can only invite collapse. So that was my answer, and I know that the liens work. Islam, I yield.
Islam, indeed. Islam, indeed. Indeed, yes, they do. Indeed, they do. You know, I'll say this in conclusion of, yes, very powerful. I will say this in conclusion as we adjourn this Congressional Assembly, that we took we heard a lot of, those who didn't think we should be leaning when we first started introducing the lien process in the manner that we introduced it. We heard from everywhere that, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You should, and I won't say everywhere, but we heard from a few places. And when I say places, I don't mean, I mean people who were afraid, that we shouldn't be doing that. Now, when we look back and we look at what we are actually dealing with, everything that was ever mailed in the mailbox was a lien. Everything was a lien. And we didn't realize we were being liened. And they couldn't lien us, so they liened their corpse. We didn't realize that all of that was going on out at the mailbox. So, we're grateful that we persevered to continue sharing the lien process and putting it on our own government letterhead, because that has proven one of the most effective things that we've done some really effective things as a nation. The lien process was one of the most effective that we have done. It was one of the most effective. I mean, it really just, and we're grateful for that, because we knew in our spirit that in order to close the mouths of corpses and zombie shell corporations pretending to be government, that we had to prove that they were a debtor. The only way you can prove that someone's a debtor is if you put them in debt. And that's what the lien process does. It says it is another something that establishes us. It's another court action that establishes us as the creditor. Only creditors can tell someone they're in debt. And that's why everything was so topsy-turvy before. That's now in its rightful place. And we're so grateful for that with every lien that you do, you're telling whatever corpse it is, you're saying, you're not the creditor, I am. You're not the head, you're the tail. I'm the head. So with that being said, if there's nothing further, we will go ahead and adjourn here. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Grand Rising.
Islam. Grand
Islam.
rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam. Grand rising.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam, indeed.
Islam.
Islam. Islam. And we will disconnect in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Islam.